The clock struck 2 in the morning, the silence heavy in the air. After what felt like an eternity of restless tossing and turning, I finally rose from the bed, compelled by an insatiable thirst that gnawed at my insides. The living room was bathed in an unsettling glow, the lights flickering as if they held secrets too heavy to bear. It was that fateful night when my cousin Eric made the unsettling decision to send William to stay with me for an indeterminate period. Upon learning of his fate, an unbearable weight crushed my heart. His wife's betrayal shattered his world, leaving him in a spiral of despair and anguish. William, bound in a seemingly unbreakable union for years, found himself ensnared in a shocking revelation that shattered his world. Eric's son was ensnared in a tumultuous storm of despair, and the weight of it all was suffocating him. "Andrea, you must accept him," Eric had implored me, his voice trembling with urgency. William is desperate for a moment of tranquility amidst the chaos that surrounds him. I had no true understanding of William, yet it was painfully clear that the darkness within him stemmed from a woman's influence. We had endured an overwhelming number of losses within our family. 7 years have passed since I lost my husband Henry. He was only 60 when he was taken from me, his life extinguished in an instant by a heart attack that shattered my world. In an instant, we were constructing the house of our dreams, destined for completion within a year, and then, without warning, everything came to a halt. Henry's death thrust me into a perilous abyss, leaving me utterly isolated. For years, I have been haunted by this profound emptiness that gnaws at my very soul. But lately, the weight of loneliness has been crashing down upon me with an intensity I can scarcely bear. Tonight was a night steeped in uncertainty. Are you prepared for what lies ahead? This is a tale unlike any other. This delves into the shadows where boundaries dissolve, where feelings spiral into chaos, and the unvoiced cries of a truth linger, poised to erupt. Each heartbeat in this unfolding drama has the potential to stir something profound within you, unearthing emotions long buried, challenging boundaries you never imagined could be crossed. If this is the tale you've been yearning for, step forward. Hit that subscribe button and activate notifications now. Your support is everything to me, a lifeline in the shadows of uncertainty. I crept toward the living room, each step heavy with anticipation. A few steps away, I caught sight of William, his gaze fixed on the flickering screen, absorbed in the unfolding drama of a romantic movie. In that fleeting moment, my sole focus was on ensuring William could grasp a semblance of peace during his time here. Yet, unbeknownst to me, the universe was weaving a far more intricate and unsettling narrative. So much was unraveling around me, and with just a single step, just one, I could alter the course of everything. William's gaze pierced through the dim light as he turned to me, attention hanging in the air, and demanded to know if I had disturbed his slumber. His voice trembled with a haunting blend of doubt and an urgent longing for solace. I stood there, clad in my shirt, yet the fabric felt irrelevant in the weight of the moment. In that moment, an overwhelming sense of isolation engulfed me, deeper than I had ever known. I remained silent, offering him a delicate smile that concealed the turmoil within. I arrived, driven by an urgent thirst, to retrieve a simple glass of water. In that moment, an overwhelming sense of isolation gripped me, and I found myself yearning for time to stretch, to linger in the suffocating silence that surrounded me. Perhaps a few moments in William's presence could fill the void of this desolate night. Perhaps in the flickering shadows of the screen, I could grasp at the remnants of normalcy, a fleeting whisper of peace amidst the chaos of my existence. "Acércate, toma asiento, enfrentemos esto juntos," dijo William, su dedo tembloroso apuntando al abismo del sofá a su lado. The decision presented itself with disturbing clarity. I desperately wanted to find solace in the darkness, a glimmer of meaning amid the confusion, so I settled in beside him, feeling the tension in the air. The movie started, but my mind was caught in a whirlwind, unable to hold on to the images dancing across the screen. There was a force within me, a dark presence that defied my understanding. William's presence, the way this enigmatic individual sat so close to me, the subtle tremor in his voice. Everything seemed enveloped in an atmosphere of unease, as if the air itself was charged with palpable tension. As the romantic scenes of the film unfolded, an uneasy feeling led me to look away from the screen. For an instant, the couple on the screen drew closer, and in that moment, memories I thought buried surfaced with a disturbing intensity. And then, in a tense instant, I turned my head with a slight movement, and my fingers brushed William's arm. I pulled back urgently, feeling the pressure of the pressing moment. "What did you say?" My eyes darted away, caught in a consuming panic. I didn't mean to, but fate has strange ways of playing tricks on our lives. William remained eerily silent, as if time had stopped for an eternal instant. Then he gave a subtle nod, and in a voice thick with tension, he said, "It's okay, don't worry." But in that instant, the distance between us somehow became disturbingly smaller. The film continued, but a shadow of unease hung over every frame. Neither William nor I were able to find true peace in that moment filled with uncertainty. Despite being so close, the emotional distance between us was overwhelming, as if an unfathomable abyss separated us irrevocably. I would remember that night as the beginning of an enigma, a labyrinth of emotions and thoughts more intricate than I could have ever anticipated. That moment felt like an omen, a hint that everything was about to change irrevocably. The night had become a labyrinth of shadows and haunting whispers. Sitting there on the couch, the dim light from the screen illuminated his features as I watched a romantic movie with William. A palpable tension took hold of me, and I couldn't help but feel irresistibly drawn to him. Despite being in my nightgown, sitting so close to another man after so much solitude, a palpable tension built between us, a force that couldn't be ignored. William's presence was unsettling. It forced me to confront hidden truths. Perhaps it was the result of years of loneliness, but proximity to another man, in this context, unleashed an internal storm I couldn't ignore. It was a labyrinth of confusion and strangeness, and every attempt at understanding faded into the gloom of uncertainty. Undoubtedly, an intense feeling was pervading him. That night, everything began to unravel, revealing secrets that had remained hidden in the shadows. Let's not be carried away by calm. I tossed and turned in the darkness, trapped in my thoughts, unable to find peace. The lack of sleep led me to face the morning with an overwhelming heaviness. As the new day dawned, I sat at the piano, yearning to release the storm raging inside me. I had been alone for almost 7 years, and each morning I awoke with the desperate need to cling to the illusion that somehow normalcy still existed. The piano echoed in the room, evoking the presence of an old friend, a refuge of calm amidst the chaos, reminding me of Henry with an intensity that tightened my chest. As my fingers moved frantically over the keys, a haunting hope clung to me, longing for this morning to offer me some respite, if only for a moment. Then, a disturbing echo broke the silence from outside. A shadow materialized in front of the window, challenging the light and silence of the room. It was William, walking through the deserted city streets, each step echoing in the silence like an echo of his own dark thoughts. At first, his presence went unnoticed, but as the melody began to fill the air, the front door slowly opened and he entered, as if time had stopped at that instant. I continued playing, lost in my own bubble, until, suddenly, I saw him there, motionless, his eyes fixed on me, as if he could read my darkest thoughts. My fingers froze for a moment, and that inner pressure resurfaced with overwhelming intensity. But William just smiled at me, as if the chaos surrounding us had no effect on him. "That was overwhelming!" he exclaimed. "Thank you. That is, without a doubt, the most impactful birthday present I've ever received." For a moment, a tidal wave of emotions washed over me, pulling me toward an unknown abyss. As William crossed the threshold, an unsettling feeling enveloped him. The room seemed to transform, as if we'd been swept into an unknown realm. And then he spoke a few words in a calm, genuine tone, something I'd never experienced before. "What I just said is the absolute truth. Seeing you, even if only for a few brief minutes, became the most intense experience I've had in an endless time. And did you know that today marks the threshold of my 40th birthday?" It wasn't long before I realized how deeply those words stirred something within me. I looked away, struggling to contain the emotions swirling inside me, while the sweetness of his compliment resonated like a haunting echo. In that moment, for the first time in years, the loneliness faded, and a disquieting sense of transformation began to take hold of me. After the intense turmoil of that morning, I found myself in a state of uneasy anticipation for the night to arrive. The revelation that today was William's 40th birthday ignited in me an overwhelming need to act, to do something, anything to make this day, heavy with anticipation, feel normal, even special. An idea popped into my head, and I turned to him, the air thick with tension. "Is today the day you celebrate your arrival?" "Drain?" I asked, unease taking hold. "Very well. Then let's celebrate. How about tonight we immerse ourselves in the dark pleasure of a glass of wine while the tension slices like a sharp cake?" William flashed me a smile filled with wonder, as if a dark secret were about to be revealed. "Well, if you're implying it, I suppose tonight could turn out to be something intriguing," he said, a knowing glimmer in his eyes. Then, after a tense silence, he added with a wry smile, "However, there's a catch. You must play the piano for me again, one more time. You won't be able to escape it." With a forced laugh, I tried to shake off the growing nervousness that was taking over my being. "Fine," I replied, a palpable tension in the air, "but only if we uncork a bottle of wine worthy of this moment and make a toast that resonates in our souls." Even that small exchange resonated deep within me, leaving an imprint I struggled to accept. Emotions surged inside me, but I suppressed them with the firm conviction that I just had to maintain the appearance of normalcy, at least for one night. It was just a birthday, a subtle celebration hiding an abyss of unspoken emotions. That was all. Or was there more in the shadows, waiting to be revealed? But then William uttered a phrase so seemingly trivial, yet laden with a surprise that it left me completely stunned. He looked at me with that same pure gaze and asked his question. "How many years have marked you?" 45. I stood still, trapped in a moment that stretched like an echo in the darkness. I'd always struggled to deceive time, to hold on to a fading youth. Yet the echo of such a sincere compliment paralyzed me, as if the world had stopped for an instant, revealing the harsh reality of my existence. I couldn't help but smile, though deep down, a shadow of unease loomed over me. Oh no, what have I done? Not exactly. I tried to downplay his words, but it was almost impossible to hide the intense spark of emotion that ignited inside me. It was as if I was being pulled in two directions, caught between the warmth they offered me and the storm of emotions I struggled to contain. As darkness fell, William and I uncorked the wine, immersing ourselves in a tense atmosphere, ready to celebrate what could be an unexpected turn in our lives. As our voices intertwined, the distance between us faded, thick with palpable tension. His warmth, the intensity of his gaze, the way every word seemed laden with meaning, enveloped me in a feeling of both unease and comfort. There was a connection between us, a palpable tension, something that intensified with every moment we shared. Deep down, a voice insisted that I should face this night as if it were just another, ordinary night. But then William raised his glass, a smile on his lips, and with those intense eyes he asked playfully, "So, when are you going to reveal something to me? You know there's no escape." For a moment, uncertainty enveloped me, but after a deep breath, the words finally escaped my lips. "Okay, we'll do it." I sat down at the piano, allowing the melody to emerge once more, hoping it might calm the storm raging inside me. Yet with each note, a haunting transformation took hold of me, as if an invisible force were pulling me toward him. Even as I immersed myself in the music, there was a strange comfort in the intensity of my listening, in the way I valued it, as if it were the only thing that truly mattered in this vast abyss of uncertainty. What I had initially imagined as a simple celebration transformed into something entirely different. In that instant, a wave of emotions washed over him as if he were about to discover a forgotten secret, something authentic that had been absent for too long. My vision darkened as my fingers danced across the keys, each note unleashing a turmoil within me. But the essence of that restlessness remained elusive. William's voice reverberated faintly in my mind, and an unsettling feeling took hold of me, as if my heart and head were slowly slipping into the distance. I was so mired in chaos that I couldn't even recognize the moment when I should stop. My hands moved with an almost palpable urgency toward another melody, when suddenly, William emerged beside me, like a shadow in the gloom. His hands rested on mine with unnerving gentleness. "You are an extraordinary woman," he whispered, his voice barely trembling. "And your piano playing is simply astonishing." His words reverberated in my mind, creating a disturbing chasm of unease. His warm hands on mine were an anchor in the storm, a refuge where I sought stability as my emotions surged, threatening to drag me into madness. "Come on, you're tired," he whispered with unsettling calm, as if each word weighed heavily on the air. "Let's take a seat on the couch, even though the air feels heavy and shadows surround us. I have a disturbing revelation for you." With a subtle touch, William led me toward the couch, the tension palpable in the air. It was a moment of overwhelming confusion, an abyss of emotions that threatened to consume everything. The intensity of the moment enveloped him, leaving an indelible mark on his mind. As I sat down, my thoughts spun frantically like a whirlwind in my head. Then, William returned to the piano, his heart beating with palpable intensity. My eyes fell on his hands, which danced with disturbing fluidity over the keys. Suddenly, the atmosphere became charged with tension as he began to play my favorite melody. I recognized it immediately, as if a shadow from the past emerged from the depths of my mind. It was the melody I had loved for years, the one that always awakened something dark and deep within me. As he played, my heart pounded with overwhelming intensity. Each note unleashed memories that plunged me into a storm of emotions, an abyss I wasn't ready to explore. I stood motionless, trapped in the darkness, as the notes of the music drifted through the air, awakening a latent spark deep within me. After a while, the tension became unbearable, and I could no longer remain seated. The melody echoing in the air lifted me, as if an invisible force were urgently summoning me. With each step, the tension grew as I struggled to master the turmoil raging within me. As I approached, standing beside him, a restlessness washed over me, paralyzing me for the moment. "Are you really that skilled at this?" I said, my voice breaking, struggling to hide the frantic pounding of my heart that echoed in my ears. "And you're playing the melody that resonates most deeply in my soul." My words floated in the air, reverberating in the room as my emotions clashed in an internal turmoil. "Who are you, William?" My voice emerged, trembling, barely a whisper drifting through the darkness. Are you really reaching me?" I'd never experienced a feeling so overwhelming, so unsettling like this. She was caught in a whirlwind of emotions, caught between confusion and terror, while a strange happiness enveloped her, intensifying her unease. Our gazes locked in an electrifying instant, so close that the air between us became thick, palpable, and I could feel her breath caressing my skin. As I looked into her eyes, an overwhelming sensation enveloped me as if I were descending into an unknown abyss, and in that instant, time froze in an eerie silence. The intensity of her gaze made my heart pound, flooding me with a disturbing warmth. In that instant, the feeling of being the only two souls in the vast universe took hold of her, enveloping everything in an overwhelming silence. Everything took on a disturbing meaning, as if the shadows were lengthening and whispers of the past were echoing in every corner. In that instant, reality seemed to contract, leaving only our two selves in an abyss of palpable tension. Everything else faded away, and in an instant, reality transformed in a disturbing and disconcerting way. My eyes met his, and in a fleeting moment, the entire world vanished. The confusion, fear, and racing thoughts faded away, leaving only William and me in an overwhelming silence. His hands rested on my waist with a firmness that held me captive, yet a gentleness that prevented any kind of pressure. The tension in the air was palpable, as if every movement could unleash a storm of hidden emotions. My mind spun in a whirlwind, caught between the heat of the wine and the tidal surge of emotions that overwhelmed me. Without William's firm grip, a nagging doubt gripped me. Could I really stay standing? The intensity of his gaze enveloped me, drawing me closer to an abyss of emotions I couldn't ignore. And in that instant, his warmth and the sense of security he emanated at his side became my only anchor amidst the storm raging around me. "You must rest," he murmured, his voice thick with palpable tension as he led me toward the couch, as if each step were a whisper of an inescapable truth. His words, like a gentle whisper, seemed to calm the storm raging inside me, but the pressure of his hands on my waist unleashed an unease that kept me on edge, trapped between security and fear. When I sat down, his hands lingered there for a moment longer, and our gazes met again, thick with palpable tension. Confusion settled over me like a dark veil hiding the truth. Words faded in my mind and emotions intertwined in a disturbing vortex. The warmth of his touch transformed the night into an indelible memory, charged with an intensity that overwhelmed all logic. That night on the couch became an intense and harrowing experience, one of the most memorable of my existence. It all happened in an instant, a whirlwind of events that left me breathless, with no chance to process it all before daylight descended upon me. Opening my eyes, I stood up with a feeling of unease and moved toward the living room, each step echoing in the silence around me. The aroma of coffee filtered from the kitchen, dragging me from a state of unsettling drowsiness. And there he was, in the dimness, watching with an intensity that took my breath away. William, standing in the kitchen, his bare torso gleaming in the dim light, clutched the coffee pot, steam rising like his thoughts, in a silence that hung heavy in the air. His body, still vibrant and robust from the previous night, presented itself to my inquisitive gaze. And me? The mere evocation of the previous night provoked a disturbing wave that coursed through every corner of my being. My nightgown and underwear lay in disarray on the floor, like remnants of a night fraught with secrets and unresolved tensions. The mere echo of those moments filled me with a palpable restlessness, a mixture of nervousness and a strange emotion that kept me on edge. Reviewing the night in my mind only intensified my confusion. What was going to happen now? How could I find the courage to face this crossroads? Yet one truth stood out with undeniable clarity. There was a connection between us, an intensity I had never experienced before. Tonight, this moment was charged with a palpable intensity, as if I were on the edge of an abyss that could transform my existence forever. William turned from the kitchen, his eyes fixed on me, as if every second counted in a game of palpable tension. His eyes, an abyss of sweetness, and his smile, a flash of warmth, concealed deep, dark secrets. The silence that enveloped us was heavy, laden with hidden meanings and repressed emotions. As I stood there, my eyes fixed on him, I struggled to decipher the storm raging within him, trying to understand the depth of his emotions. Everything sank into an abyss of confusion. Uncertainty enveloped me, like a shadow hanging over my soul. Every option seemed like an abyss, and the silence became deafening, pressing its weight on my mind. Which path should I take at this crossroads? The tension was palpable in the air, and time slipped through my fingers, leaving only the anguish of the unknown. How could I move forward amidst uncertainty? It was as if I were plunged into an abyss, completely trapped in the darkness of my own mind. However, deep within me, I sensed that an imminent change was approaching, and I knew there was no way to stop it. Standing there like Andrea, all I could feel was a storm of emotions and confusion swirling inside me. I couldn't decipher anything. Everything had unfolded in an instant, like a whisper in the darkness. The clothes lay in disarray on the floor, a chaos that reflected my mind. I closed my eyes for a moment, an almost involuntary gesture as I shook my head, as if trying to clear away dark thoughts that threatened to consume everything. Everything was so convoluted that I couldn't even discern what was going through my mind, let alone what was crowding in my heart. I jumped up, my heart pounding, and ran to the bathroom. The urgency of a shower gripped me, as if every drop of water could wash away not only the dirt, but also the shadows that stalked me. It was imperative to free my mind from the storm that besieged it, to escape the whirlwind of emotions that threatened to consume every part of me. My nightgown and underwear remained motionless, trapped in the same place as if time had stopped around them. I didn't care about the chaos surrounding me. All I longed for was to disappear beneath the scorching torrent of hot water, to escape the mess, even if it was only for a moment. After a while, I stepped out of the shower, wrapped in a towel, when suddenly the door burst open. William stood there, motionless, as if time had stopped around him. I stood still, trapped in a moment that seemed eternal. Neither of us dared to move. Our gazes met and held, a connection so intense that time seemed to stop, as if the universe itself held its breath. Uncertainty consumed me, trapped in a whirlwind of dark thoughts and impossible decisions. Each option seemed more terrifying than the last, and time slipped through my fingers like sand, leaving only anguish in its wake. The confusion and emotion in my eyes were undeniable. I felt completely exposed, vulnerable, and yet somehow the words escaped my lips, uncontrollable as if they had a life of their own. "I have no idea what's happening," I murmured, feeling my voice tremble slightly. "What we're doing. I know the wrongness of this, but it's like I'm trapped in a dream I can't wake up from." William took a step closer to me, the tension palpable in the air. His eyes reflected a whirlwind of conflicting emotions, as if every blink could unleash an internal storm. Neither of us could foresee the dark outcome that was to come. I wanted to scream, but my voice was stuck in my throat, trapped in an overwhelming silence. "Your coffee is ready," William murmured, his voice trembling slightly, as if each word could unleash a storm of hidden emotions. As my eyes fell upon him, a disturbing revelation washed over me. The chaos surrounding him was disordered, but there was a disturbing beauty within it that defied logic. I didn't contemplate what was to come. I simply allowed myself to be swept away by the intensity of that moment. As I sat with my coffee, the turmoil in my heart churned like a whirlwind of emotions that threatened to spill over at any moment. Sitting with William, our gazes locked, evoking echoes of what had happened between us. Everything had unfolded with overwhelming speed, leaving my mind caught in a maelstrom of confusion. What had we done? What emotions consumed us? I longed to utter something that would give meaning to the storm of emotions consuming me, but words faded, unreachable, into an abyss of confusion. "Andrea," William began, his voice thick with palpable tension. "What we did was such a profound mistake. I recognize that. Why did we allow this to happen?" His eyes revealed deep guilt, intertwined with a disturbing understanding. He was aware, as I was, that the situation had crossed a dangerous line. "Should we feel remorse for this?" "No, we should never have made that decision." Time stood still. My thoughts twisted in a dark labyrinth, but I finally managed to unleash my voice, echoing in the gloom. Yes, maybe it all unraveled in an instant, but no, it wasn't right. We allowed complexity to take over our lives, and now, looking back, everything seems like a maze with no way out, where logic dissolves into confusion. "This was a mistake for both of us," I stated, my voice thick with tension. An overwhelming weight weighed on my chest, while a disturbing sense of relief washed over me as I recognized we had crossed a line of no return. William remained tensely silent, his eyes fixed on the ground as if searching for answers in the cold surface that separated him from reality. Then his eyes fell on me. "Let's pretend this never happened, Andrea," he pronounced, his voice a mix of determination and gentleness, thick with palpable tension. "I feel that for our own salvation, we must bury this in the past. What could really come from dragging this out, particularly in those moments when everything has become utter chaos? We need distance between us." When he spoke those words, a deep, dark vibration stirred in the recesses of my being. I was right. Continuing this is inevitable. It would only hurt us both. "Yes," I replied, inhaling heavily, as if each word weighed an eternity. "Perhaps this is the right thing to do. If you decide to leave, perhaps that is the only way out. Surely this could be the most beneficial decision for both of us." William nodded, his face revealing unwavering determination. "I must see this through," he said with palpable intensity. "It is what must be for both of us." The air thickened as we watched each other in palpable silence, each second stretching like a taut thread between us. In that instant, the gravity of the decision became palpable between us, like an echo resonating in the darkness of our minds. Accepting that what we had done in those dark moments was merely a heartbreaking mistake. Confronting that truth could be the first step toward redemption, a path filled with shadows and unsettling revelations. And instead of dragging each other down in a whirlwind of emotions, I longed for the space that seemed to be the only way forward. I trust you've felt the intensity of my story. This journey has been an intense experience, and sharing it with you has filled my heart with a deep and overwhelming happiness. If you'd like to immerse yourself in more stories like this, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications to be the first to find out when a new episode unfolds. Your likes and comments mean the world to me. For me, delving into your thoughts and feelings awakens a deep motivation within me. Your support becomes a beacon in the darkness, pushing me to explore the depths of my creativity. Thank you all so much. We'll see you in the next narrative where shadows and secrets await.